Hi, my name is Demelza, but everybody calls me Dee, because Demelza is a difficult name apparently to say. I'm a PhD student at Demelza University. What I want to talk about today is the Square Mile, which is a community university project that DMU started. So it's a partnership between a university and a local community that's very close to the university campus. This is a really unique initiative. There are other cases of universities working in communities, but they work in a very different way, bringing communities onto campus and not necessarily meeting the needs identified by them and the community. Square Mile do this by running a doorstop survey. They've spoken to 223 residents in the local community, and they've also run a youth consultation. And please remind me if I'm speaking too fast or you can't hear me, just put your hand up. So what it aims to do is demonstrate that the university can be a public good, because what we find is universities keep all their knowledge and expertise and they don't share them. And the community can really benefit from the university, as well as a university benefiting from the community. So what it aims to do is raise the social capital of the community. So social capital, for those that you don't know, it's the safety that you feel within the community. How well do you know your neighbours? And what we found in the Square Mile is, although people live in very close proximity, they didn't know their neighbours. They didn't feel safe at night. They didn't feel that they could ask somebody down the road for a favour. And what we felt is that the Square Mile could really bring people together. This community is a really transient community. There's lots of people moving in and moving out. And they don't have time to get to know each other. It's not a community where people have lived on the same street for the whole of their lives and their mothers and their grandmothers. This is a really new community of people that don't know each other. And that connectiveness is really difficult to establish. So Demelza University recognised this, having done a survey, and felt if they had started some projects that could bring people together, young people, the whole community, certain sections of the community, were all asking for different things. So it meant that the Square Mile project wouldn't just be one, it would be a set of projects meeting different community needs, but with events for everybody to attend and everybody to learn what everybody else was doing and what was happening in their local area. So now I'm going to play a video which I hope will make it really clear what it is. And if there's any questions afterwards, if you're not sure about the concept, then just put your hands up. Okay?
If you're on slideshow and right click it should work.
Okay, so the sound's not working, I'll talk you through it. This is the Vice-Chancellor of Demelza University. The Square Mile was his idea. This video was taken during the launch day, which was September of last year, so it's only been running for just over a year. During this launch day, a number of projects were begun. So this is a community garden where not only the community members came along, but staff and students of the university. They've never worked together before, they've never met each other, and they're all working together to develop a piece of land in the community that had previously been completely ignored, and it looks wonderful now. And you can see how professors that never go into the community are working alongside children, they're all chatting, they're getting to know each other. and roles were given out not according to status. So professors were given the job of picking up litter in the street, and community members were given the job of making teas or organising one of the events. We have a partnership with the local authorities, so they provide some in-kind support where they will provide members of staff, they will provide databases, they will provide time. And this political support and the support of the local authority is really key, and it shows a real different kind of partnership between the university, the community and all the stakeholders involved. We had a community CAF which was hugely successful, run by our Department for Youth and Community Development, where people could come along and eat, drink tea and coffee and have cake and sit down and talk to each other. And what we found was that there were loads of really interesting conversations. Members of the community were able to say, you know, I'd like to do this project. And that was the beginning of the conversation, beginning to understand the community's needs. The people in pink t-shirts are part of the Square Mile team, and there's currently 6 people within the Square Mile team running the whole project. The choir that you saw was Montfort University Choir, and they go everywhere with us. So part of the Square Mile projects, we have a choir, we have a breakdance club, we've got 400 school children involved in different projects. We have community reporters. One of the most successful projects is the free English lessons. In the Square Mile community, we have a huge number of people coming over from Poland, and some of them find it really difficult to find employment because they don't have the English speaking skills, and there isn't anything free on offer. So the free English speaking project, it is completely free, and what we found was within the first day of running it is it was so popular we had to move venue and the size doubled, and every single time we run it we find more and more people coming along. And people have said, you know, we found jobs because of this, we've been able to talk to our neighbours, we feel more settled in the community, we feel more accepted, we can go into a shop and say hi, morning, and ask for something in English. And it just makes such a difference, not only to the Polish-speaking members of the community, but everybody else, because they can communicate with each other. And that's the most basic thing of being part of the community, is to be able to communicate. Free legal advice, employability sessions, anything that we feel will meet the need of the community, something that we've identified within the survey. So what's my research about? As a PhD student, I was given the task of looking at the impact of this initiative. But my interest as a youth worker for 12 years is always going to be young people. And this community is really interesting because there is no space for young people. The only green space in it is used by dog walkers and adults with little children. And young people are moved on. So they move onto the street and they play football, and the police turn up because they're being noisy, and they're moved on again. And when I ran the youth consultation, what I found was young people really unhappy. We've got nowhere to go. Everywhere we go, people have a go at us. The police don't want us there, the adult residents don't want us there. But when I spoke to the adult residents, they were saying, oh, they're so noisy, young people. They play football, they break our windows, they don't listen to us. And there's a huge gap right in the middle where they're not talking to each other. And young people want space, and the adults want something constructive for the young people to do. So part of the Square Mile project will be looking at the local environment and looking at whether we can create something just for young people, both in terms of outside the space and some really decent youth provision that's sustainable. So mine will be looking at how they use public space and also how young people communicate with each other. Later on, I'll show you some photographs of how I found young people in the area are communicating with each other online. So, social networking, young people. Some studies suggest that up to 90% of young people communicate online through social networking sites. And they communicate through a variety of ways, so status updates, messaging services, imaging. There isn't a lot of research into the way that young people communicate. Technology is evolving so quickly that research is finding it difficult to keep up with the way that young people are using it. Social media platforms are continuously being revised, and so are young people's identities on them. Every day going on, changing something about their status, their profile picture. So young people construct their identities online, and this is so different from the way that we had it when we were growing up. I certainly never used Facebook because it wasn't around when I was growing up. And it's a really difficult concept for adults to understand that a young person's social universe is sometimes completely centred on social networking. The creation and network of online content demands a certain level of media literacy, and some people assume that young people have none. Certainly the young people that I work with have a great deal of media literacy. They know how to use a computer better than I do. My 14-year-old daughter helped me with my PowerPoint presentation. They're really good, and they can edit photos and they can manipulate the information that they present about themselves. So they're skillfully creating and producing these messages. But my argument is that there's a critical role for youth working, that this is where we can come in and help young people look and evaluate the messages that they produce about themselves online, help them evaluate the dangers and the harm that's online. So it's not about saying to young people, don't do it, it's too dangerous, you know that there's predators online, you can't do it. Young people do it anyway, and young people have the right to do it. It's just about giving them informed choice and information about how to do it safely and creatively, and really exploit all the positive benefits from doing it. So my daughter very kindly gave me permission to use some of the photos from her Facebook page. She really didn't want me to put this picture on, but I begged. This is my daughter and her sister. My daughter is so amazing at editing pictures. Sometimes she edits pictures to make herself look silly and to make her friends laugh. And sometimes she edits pictures like the one at the top to perhaps anonymise herself, but also to beautify the image, to send a message. So at the bottom it says, all that glitter and all that is gold. And this is her friend. And this message was to her boyfriend. So she edited the picture, and Jasmine helped her, my daughter, to make herself look better and, you know, add things that I don't know how to do. And it says, a smile can hide every girl's pain. So what she was saying to her boyfriend is, see me, I'm so beautiful and I'm smiling, but you know, you hurt me and I've got pain. Now, isn't that so different from back in the day? I used to just ring people up and say, you know, it really broke my heart and I'm not happy, or I'd ignore them in the street. So it's very different, isn't it? This universe online where we can show people messages without even going near them. At the top, this picture of the street in snow, that's a square mile. It's one of the streets. In this area, young people do not text each other or phone each other up and say, hey, let's meet down the park and spend a couple of hours chilling. What they do is they upload a picture of the place where they want to meet. Because a lot of adults will just look at that and not think anything of it. They may have access to their daughter's Facebook, they may be friends, but they'd look at just a picture posted and not think anything of it. But actually this is a new way that young people are meeting up without letting everybody else know. And I thought that that was really interesting, that young people may not feel welcome in certain areas, but they're using public space and images of public space on social networking sites to meet each other. So, Photo Voice Project. My research is 3 years long, and I'd really like young people to be with me during this journey. I'd like 10 young people to be part of the Photo Voice Project. I'll be giving them cameras and asking them to go into the local community and taking pictures of the places that they feel comfortable, of the places that they feel welcome, but also places that they don't feel welcome. And perhaps that might change because of the Square Mile project. They will have the chance and opportunity to upload them onto their Facebook page. I want them to express their sense of belonging, their development of identity. But young people will also be provided with a space to reflect and a place where they can get support with their digital literacy skills. Young people are obviously already using social networking sites. They're obviously already competent. And although they can manipulate images and text to show and express how they feel, people can manipulate images of them and manipulate them online, and that puts young people at risk of exploitation and harm. I don't know how many of you have heard about Amanda Todd. She recently died, she killed herself, she was 15, a Canadian schoolgirl. She died because she was being bullied, both online and in the real world, and a few weeks before she died, she published and released this video. She held up pieces of paper saying, "Every day I wish I wasn't here," and other very sad messages, using social networking sites to express how awful she felt and how sad she felt. And that's the most serious part of media literacy, is that while social networking sites and modern media can be really beneficial and wonderful for young people to express themselves on, it can also be a very dangerous place. And there's the role of youth workers here to help and give them young people a chance to explore and discuss ways of keeping safe online. So during this training course, we'll be looking at how young people communicate through images and text, developing and helping them to develop their own strategies for keeping safe online, how they disclose personal information. Do you put your date of birth on Facebook? Why wouldn't you put your date of birth on Facebook? How they construct their own identity. Lots of young people just put picture after picture after picture of themselves, dressed up in their glad rags. What kind of information do people get from that? What kind of picture do young people want other people to have of them? It's giving them a chance to explore that. And to explore the process of decision making when young people protect themselves. And it's not just on Facebook, it's on Twitter, on YouTube, on Flickr. There's so many social networking sites that young people use, often simultaneously. So there's loads of new opportunities. Young people have skills, they use them on social networking sites, but these skills are transferable. Now to get a job, you have to apply online. To do anything, you have to apply online, and young people are computer literate, and sometimes they spend so long on Facebook that they forget they've got skills everywhere else, and that those skills are transferable. Youth workers have a role in this. The formal educational settings, classrooms, universities have a role to help young people be able to transfer their skills and to explore ways of being online safely. Young people are often demonised because of using social networking skills. In the UK, there were riots last year, and these riots were organised on Facebook. There were Facebook pages put up, meet, at a certain place in London, we're going to have a riot. And all of a sudden the newspapers exploded, Facebook is responsible for this, young people don't know how to use them properly. So often technology is blamed for allowing young people to be criminals, it makes them worse. It doesn't make them better. There's nothing positive about it. People often criticise the way that young people represent themselves online, and they also talk about the predatory nature of other people online, particularly older people, and how that can cause harm to young people. But what I argue for is that people need to help people to reflect and learn and share their online presence and to think about that. And that's it, and there's a link. You can come to me afterwards to get it if you'd like to learn more about Marty, and you can always email me. Thank you very much for listening.